Hello, hello, hello. Making sure that we are live on all platforms. Hi, everyone. If we haven't met yet, I'm Jasmine. I am the founder of Sis to Win, and this is the season finale of SOS Live. SOS Live is a 30-minute live that I have dedicated to making sure that founders have a place where they can come and ask questions and learn more about scaling. Just a bit about me. My work history is varied. I have done many, many, many things, all of them requiring systems, workflows, and automation. And I have loved that part of every role that I have been in, from being an educator to being a professional athlete to working in big tech, and now for myself. And I love that. So I work with small businesses who are looking to scale, and let's get into it. Honestly, I think this might be my favorite episode of the season. I debated saving it to saving it for next season and like starting next season off with this, but you know what? Season 1 has been amazing. I'm so happy I started doing this. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay. Scaling, scaling is not about hustle. Scaling is not about hustle. When you start your business, it is about hustle. When you're scaling your business, it is no longer about hustle. When you're starting to get to that 25,000, between 25,000 to 100K months, the hustle, you already know hustling works. But now the question is, does the business scale with you or does it stall because of you? And so we're going to get into it this episode. We're closing on season 1 with the 5 truths that I wish every founder knew. These decide whether you are going to build freedom or whether you are going to build yourself a cage. So let's jump right in. Okay, truth number 1, hiring. I hear people talking about this all the time, right? It's a very great thing to be able to go from being a solopreneur to starting to build your team. But here's what you have to understand. Hiring is not about outsourcing tasks. Hiring is about outsourcing decisions. You make so many decisions in one day as an entrepreneur. When you are expanding your team, you have to be able to pass that decision making to someone else, not just the task, the decision making. Okay, so have you ever hired somebody and somehow it seemed like your to do list got even longer? Yeah, you are smart enough to know how to hire, right? This is not, you know, corporate HR where, all the time people can slip through the cracks. But if you've made it this far in business, something tells me that you have a decent enough mind to be able to hire somebody who can do well, right? So it's not an issue of a bad hire. A lot of times it's a bad system, because when you hire people, it can actually multiply the chaos, unless you have outsourced the decisions into SOPs and workflows. Okay, now I want to dig into this just a little bit more. I may not dig into the other ones as much, but this one I really, really, really want to drive home because I'm seeing this all the time. SOPs and workflows are not the same thing. They are not the same thing. Okay, workflows are about what to do next. And let me back up. Let me just give you an example. If I am talking to my nephew, he's 8, okay? There is a workflow for getting ready for school. Okay, he's going to wake up, he's going to brush his teeth, he's going to wash his face, he's going to get dressed, he's going to eat breakfast, grab his backpack, and be out the door. Okay, that is the workflow of getting dressed. Or sorry, of getting ready to go for the day. The workflow tells him what to think about. But even within this workflow, there are decision trees, right? Have you ever seen a kid get dressed and it's like the middle of the summer and they come downstairs in rain boots? Why is that? Right? When you're thinking about workflows, there are also decision trees. So, yes, brush teeth, wash face, get dressed. Now, when we get to this getting dressed part, there is a decision tree. Okay. What is the weather like? Do you have practice today? Which sport is it? All of these things need to be considered, right? All of these things need to be considered. And it's like, I always use kid examples because we understand it so clearly with kids. And I don't know why we have so much faith in adults as if they weren't just kids like 20 minutes ago. Do you get what I mean? So I want you to think about it like that as well. Now, so the workflow is the flow of things, the process, thinking about the process. When you think about an SOP, now each one of those things that I said, right? Waking up, brushing teeth, washing face, getting dressed, each one of those will have its own SOP. Some people like to put an SOP in and there's 25 million steps and you're wondering why your team is not following it. They didn't want to read 25 million steps. And guess what? Neither do I. And neither do you. So let's be realistic, right? So when it gets to the point where it's brush teeth, then there needs to be a brush teeth SOP, right? Because kids will tell you, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. And you're like, okay, so why your breath smell like that? You get what I'm saying? And so there needs to be an SOP, not just for how to do it, but also what it looks like when it is done well, when it is done right. How you can tell, right? These decisions that are going on in your head as you pull them near you and smell their breath, or you tell them to open their mouth and you see the white on their tongue, right? All of those things need to be in the definition of done that you put on your SOP for your employees as well. Okay? So it's not just the flow, it's how to do each part of the flow. And sometimes I see people only doing one. That's how you get people freestyling. Or you get people that's like, hey, what do I do? Hey, what do I do? Hey, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And you like, dang, you can't do nothing? No, because it's your business. And if they do it how they want to do it, right? All of a sudden it seems like you hired and now the character of your business is changing. The excellence of your business could be changing. The way to protect this is making sure that you have both an SOP, a workflow for each KPI and SOPs, because hiring is about outsourcing decision making, not just the task. Okay. Okay. And because truthfully, dependency is expensive. Dependency is expensive. This brings me to my next truth. 2, client onboarding is not just paperwork. It is how you protect your revenue. Now, closing a client, that's not the part that you celebrate on. We love it. It feels good, right? I love to see the Stripe thing say such and such invoice paid. We love that. All that is like the starting gun to get off the blocks. That is not the end. That is not the okay, cool. We got another one. That's not that, right? Because if they pay and they go cold right after, you've already lost them. And you can look up, I mean, anywhere. You can look up Harvard Business School, HubSpot, McKinsey, there's so much research that talks about churn being at highest risk in the first 30 days. Now, you may be delivering something over the course of 90 days, but that churn is still, that risk is still ever present in the first 90 days. And honestly, sorry, in the first 30 days. And honestly, I would say in the first week. If you haven't delivered a client win within 48 hours, honestly, yeah, look into the human psychology of what dopamine means, right? This is why social media has such a big impact on people, because we love dopamine spikes, and your business needs to deliver the same for your clients. Okay, client onboarding is where your trust is either built or broken. When you deliver quick wins, when you keep on delivering wins in that first 30 days, this is how you get to retention. We want retention because we don't want a brand new set We don't want to have to get a brand new set of customers every single month. That's exhausting, right? I work with service-based businesses. You want to have people long term. You don't just want somebody to work with you once and then boom, you never hear from them again, because your sales team is going to be exhausted. You're going to be exhausted, right? Your LTV is going to be taking a huge hit, right? We want referrals. I mean, imagine it for yourself. Like if you buy something and then you don't hear nothing in 48 hours, you're even like, what the heck? But we forget about this in business because that first zero, working to get to those 20K months, we're just on hustle, 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 hustle. A lot of times you're minding your network even. So these people are a little bit more forgiving because they may know you personally. When you start to get to the point where your leads are strangers, right? When you start to get to the point where you're like, okay, my offer works, now I got to scale it. Yeah, you got to tighten up. You have to be able to tighten up your delivery. Retention definitely starts at hello, which leads me to truth number 3. Systems multiply. They do not cost. Okay? There are times when revenue is up, but profit is not. That should be a sign that something's not right. Okay? Companies, according to McKinsey, companies with documented processes are 70% more profitable than companies who do not have documented processes. Okay, operations is a multiplier on every client, every hire, every dollar. If you doubled your revenue, you ain't gotta say this out loud. You ain't gotta say this out loud, but if you doubled your revenue tomorrow, would your profit double or would the chaos double? Because if the chaos doubles, this is how you, as a founder, are stuck as an operator, which brings me into truth number 4. In order to get to that CEO seat, the business has to be able to run without you, right? If every deliverable, every client, every decision routes through you, I know it feels good because it is your business. You built this thing from the ground up, right? You built this thing from the ground up. Yeah, it actually could be both. You built this thing from the ground up. This is your baby. You've done these things. But in order to be able to start backing up into that CEO and shifting into that CEO role, you are going to have to let the business run without you. You have to make the shift from operator to architect. Operator is in the weeds, hands dirty. This is how it is when you start your business. 0 to 20K months. You're trying to get to 20K months. You're in it, right? You're making a lot of decisions, right? You're working side by side with your team. What got you there is not going to get you to the next level. So once you start to hit consistent 25K months, 25K months, you're trying to get to 100K months, you're trying to be able to scale your business, you need to be able to let the business run without you, right? If you're running a restaurant, if you opened a restaurant and you're stuck at the register, right? Which is nothing wrong with being at the register. But if that's the case, how can you open a second location? Excuse me, how can you open a second location if you are stuck at the register at the first location, right? You have to be able to pass the ball so that you can be in multiple places, right? Your brain, which is your workflows and SOPs, can be in multiple places at once. This is the only way to scale. It's the only way that you can start to become a CEO is when you start shifting from operator to architect. Okay. Now, the only way to become that architect is to stop guessing, and you have to, yes, gut feelings, yes, and you have to start relying more on data, which brings me to truth number 5. Businesses run on data. Operations, honestly, is just management of your information, how information is transferred, all of the things, right? But when you think about data, data is what you want to use to know what's working and what's not. Now, there are times where in the early stages of business where you may go a while, you're just trying stuff, right? Just trying. That's fine. It may take 2-3 months for something to hit. When you, again, that's going to get you to a certain point. But once you start hitting consistent 25, 30K months, 40K months, you are going to need data to be able to make quick decisions. Quick decisions. You can't just always wait things out and see how it feels, right? You have to be able to know. Data-driven companies are 23 times more likely to acquire customers, 6 times more likely to retain them, and 19 times more profitable. Yeah. Growth isn't about intuition in this phase, in this growth phase. It is about dashboards, time to value, real KPIs, not just revenue. I did a whole series on your revenue is lying to you, and KPIs that you actually need to be focused on, metrics that you actually need to be focused on. And you need to make sure that all of your KPIs are tied to a workflow, because you have to know what is the process in order to maintain this performance indicator. Okay. Now, these 5 truths are how I built my entire framework, right? Sprint, scale, sustain. Okay. So this is not just a framework. This is the 90-day operations overhaul. It's the difference between growth that burns you out and growth that builds you up. Okay. So in the sprint phase, this is the first 30 days. This is when we are auditing your client journey. We're rebuilding your client onboarding. We're locking in the workflows, because onboarding, like I said, onboarding is not just paperwork. Onboarding is your revenue protection. Your clients need to win in the first 48 hours. If you are a service-based business, your clients need to win in the first 48 hours, right? And so in this sprint phase, that is what we're doing. You get the trust, you get the momentum, you get the proof. Here we go. Then we get into scale. This is the second 30 days, day 31 through 60 of sprint, scale, sustain. This is when we start to build in SOPs for everything, right? SOPs for everything. We understand how things are supposed to map. Now we're building out SOPs. We are really, 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 really focused in this spot about handoffs. Handoffs. Now, when you first start your business, you are the marketing team, the sales team, the customer success team, the project manager, the engineer, you're all of those things. And so what happens when it's time to when something needs to go from marketing to sales, or from sales to project management, or whatever the case may be, all of that is happening in your head. As you start to build your team, these are like separate people, right? These are separate responsibilities. And where businesses really struggle, and it doesn't matter the size of the business, y'all. I have worked in some really I've worked at your favorites tech companies, and this is still an issue. The only difference is they can pay people enough to ignore these things. When you are in this growth stage of business, you might not be able to afford people ignoring these drops and handoffs. So as your teams start to develop, there is handoffs of information that need to happen. And if that information is not being handed off properly, it's like a game of telephone. So your sales team should know exactly what they're trying to deliver to the next people in line. Your delivery team should know all the things that the sales team knows about your client. But if you're not passing that well, you get really stuck. So in this scale phase, this days 31 to 60, we are really focused on SOPs and the handoffs. Now, in the final 30 days, this is the sustain. This is where we're making it stick. We train your team, because I hear that y'all are just letting consultants give you advice and then walk away. Whatever, but we train your team. We train your team on the workflows. We make sure everything is QA'd. We stress test everything so that you can start to feel confident and comfortable stepping back into that architect's seat and out of that operator role. And because we know growth never stands still, you get 3 extra months of retainer support. That means checking on the health of your systems, tweaking workflows as you have new offers, supporting your new hires and making sure that they know how to use the workflows as well. All the things, right? Scaling will not break what we build. Okay. So if you are at a point in business where you are still in the 0 to 20K months, Your goal is to hustle, clarify your offer, make sure your ICP is clear, you're testing, you're running, you're doing your thing. When you start to get to that 25, 20, 25K, 40K, 50K, now it is time to really lock in because you've proven demand, you have clients, you have a team, but growth is still feeling heavy. Then I have a raffle for you. You will get the full 90 days operations overhaul and 3 months of retainer support. All you have to do is book a call. Book a call. That's your entry ticket. Referrals count too. So if you refer somebody, that counts as an entry for you. I'm going to announce winners when there are 100 founders who have signed up. One of you is about to experience Sprint, Scale, Sustain completely free. All you have to do is book a call. Don't forget these 5 truths. Make sure that you're following me on TikTok, on LinkedIn. I don't use Instagram very much, but on there as well. If you are at that 20, 25, 30, 40, and you're getting to a point where hustle is just not working anymore, make sure that you sign up for the raffle. All right, that's all I have for the season finale of S.O.S. Live. I cannot believe that this is the end of a season. Yeah, we still have a couple more minutes, so I'll stay on. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Founders, I love to hear from you. Yeah. Hey, everybody on TikTok. All right, y'all. Hope you enjoyed the season finale. I will see you in season 2. Bye.